Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to rate on the 11-game NBA main slate on Friday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. If you are unable to watch these YouTube videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. I'll link in the description below. It's called the DKDFS Show. If you guys are interested in signing up for premium content, and I'll offer that on Patreon.com. A couple different packages, esports, which includes CSGO and Call of Duty, as well as an NBA package. And then finally, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring the show. If this is your first time watching, or maybe you're just not familiar with what PrizePicks is, the idea is you're taking over-under on fantasy points. So, for example, Russell Westbrook's at 46 fantasy points tomorrow. I like the over there quite a bit with no Brad Beal. So, yeah, that's it. You can mix and match sports. They have college, PGA, esports, all that good stuff. If you guys want to sign up, you can use the code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word. Link down below. You get a 100% match up to $100. You put $100 in, you get $200 to play with. And then, I do want to thank you guys finally for all the support. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. If you do enjoy this content, if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos live. I will be doing a YouTube live stream tomorrow before lock on my YouTube channel, so make sure to check it out. And let's aim for 200 likes on this video. So, yeah, with that out of the way, let's jump into it. Before we talk about players and the prices for this 11-game slate, let's look back lineup here from Thursday. So Thursday, I was joking in the Patreon live stream. I mean, if you guys have watched my stuff for the last week or so, you have seen my absolutely terrible luck. And I was just like, I already know what's going to happen. I know something's going to happen, like an ejection, random, benching, injury. I already know what's going to happen. And I saw it tonight, and I was like, I'm just numb. I'm just numb to the pain, because literally I'm just like, okay, I know something's going to happen to me every single night. So, yeah. And I will say, he was 40% owned in my tournament. Only 40%. He was clearly the best value of the slate. Gets injured in the first minute. Out for the game. So, we can take a look at the rest of my lineup here. Steph Curry, Dwayne Bacon, James Ennis, Sabonis, Stewart, injured Frank Mason, Terrence Ross, and Vooch. I'll get out of the way so you guys can see. Probably would be close to the nuts if Frank Mason did not get hurt. So, yeah, what more? How much more of this can I, speechless. I don't know. Maybe I can still cash with a donut from Frank Mason, but him only being 40% owned really surprised me. Again, this Orlando Golden State game just started the second half. I told you guys, if all those Magic guys are out, you want to load up. I played 5 Magic. All 5 are on pace to have really good games. Again, if it wasn't, Mason would have had a good game too if he didn't get injured. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but just again, nothing more to say about it. I'm just kind of numb to it. Just expect it by now. All right, so 11 games. We have 5 games out right now. Going to try to turn that frown upside down for myself. Again, it's just like, whew, man, cannot catch a break at all. Literally this year. But, Pelicans, Mavs, a 233.5 over-under. The Mavs are 2.5-point favorites. Spurs and Hawks, a 228.5 over-under. The Hawks are 1.5-point favorites. Clippers, Bulls, a 228 over-under. The Clippers are 6.5-point favorites. Bucks and Jazz, a 232.5 over-under. The Jazz are 1.5-point favorites. And Cavs, Blazers, 222 over-under. The Blazers are 4.5-point favorites. So let's start it off with Minnesota and Charlotte. And Karl-Anthony Towns, 9.3K. Got to keep an eye on this one. He actually did play 31 minutes the last game. Saunders said he wanted to keep his minutes down a bit, but it shouldn't take more than a game or two before he's free of restrictions. So keep an eye on this close. If there's no minutes limit for Cat, I think he's one of the best players of the slate. If he's limited to 30 minutes, then he's a little riskier. So just really we got to keep an eye on this news because that is huge. If he plays 36 or 30 minutes, obviously is enormous. So keep an eye on that. There's no limit for Cat. I love him. Beasley's still in play for tournaments with no D'Angelo Russell, but with Cat back, his usage goes down. I mean, Edwards, no one else really I'm interested in with Karl-Anthony Towns back. It just really affects everyone. So I'm probably going to stay away from the rest of the Timberwolves. Moving on to Charlotte. So it really just depends on Devontae Graham. He is currently questionable. So if Devontae Graham is out, I'm fine going right back to LaMelo Ball. Again, you guys know 2 nights ago was on pace for a massive game, and then for some reason barely played the second half. I know the blowout, obviously, but yeah, he literally played like 5 or 6 minutes in the second half. So I expect, if there's no Devontae Graham, for him to start and play close to 40 minutes if the game stays close. If that's the case, he will be low owned again. But let's just go over these last 3 games. So, Washington game, on pace for 50+, blowout. Houston game, on pace for probably 60, blowout. Memphis game, didn't even play over 30 minutes, and if he would have got 38, 39 minutes, would have been easily 50+. So, I do think LaMelo Ball, if there's no Devontae Graham, is a really, really good tournament play. Hayward and Rozier are solid as well. Rozier had a big game that last game, went for 46 fantasy points. I would feel better about getting to LaMelo, but both those guys would be in play because of the matchup. Everyone else is a little bit too pricey for me with like Bridges, Washington, Monk. Washington's is a guy that's always in foul trouble. Miles Bridges has been playing well off the bench, but he's gotten extended a bit because of the blowout. I don't want to pay almost $6K for him, so that's probably it for Charlotte. Moving on to New York and Washington, I think Julius Randle is a really good play here at 9.1K. With Derrick Rose back, with Derrick Rose his first game, it really just affected everyone else's minutes. So it's basically Julius Randle for me, and that's it. And I love targeting players against the Washington Wizards team. He shot 4 of 18 last game. I'm not worried that he only had 30 fantasy points. I'm fine going right back here in a fantastic spot. I do like Julius Randle a good amount. Everyone else basically stay away. So with Rose in, he played about 20 minutes. That lost minutes for Barrett, lost minutes for Burks, Peyton. Quickly, I don't trust any of these guys with Derrick Rose in. I'm going to completely stay away. Bullock too. No thank you, and anyone else. The only other guy I'll mention here is Nerlens Noel, who, when healthy, has been playing about 20 minutes a game, a decent point per a guy. I think we could go there for value. On the Washington side, so I think this is the first game we've seen where there's no Beal and Westbrook is in. Russell Westbrook is one of the top plays of the slate at 9K. He should be about a 10K player, probably 10K plus, especially with no Brad Beal. So love Westbrook. I think he's one of the best plays of this slate. Secondary plays for Washington. Here comes the headache. Because they have a lot of guys and they can give everyone like 15, 20-ish minutes. It's just, I need to see a starting lineup. So I'll just say right now, like Rui would be probably the number 2 option, but like a 5'7", not a priority for me. The bigs, if you want to try to take a shot on Alex Len, you can, but you know the risk. If he's not playing well like he did 3 games ago, he will get pulled. Bertans is very, very reliant on the scoring, but like the minutes should be there for him. I'm curious to see who starts at the 2. Like, do they start? I don't know. Like, maybe they move Jerome Robinson, Troy Brown. I mean, they have a lot of options. So it's hard to say right now. I need to see a starting lineup to see what Washington's going to do. But basically, it's Westbrook for me that I really like at the top. And then depending on who starts, possibly some value. But like I said, they could do this rotation. We've seen it multiple times this year where Washington has just played like the entire bench. And then like none of like the cheap guys get a ton of minutes. Moving on to San Antonio and Atlanta. So, do like the matchup here for the Spurs. DeMar DeRozan, DeJounte Murray. Again, that was a blowout. We also got popped. Again, I mentioned that, a 3rd game in 4 nights. Possibility. Fine going right back to either of them. Both have a good amount of upside. We saw 62 from DeJounte Murray. Now, sure, right, 8 steals. He's not going to get that again. But both the top 2 Spurs guys are in play. Keldon's always viable for tournaments as well. He's very, very up and down. The guy that I do kind of like here is Jakob Poeltl, no Aldridge. So he got limited a bit that last game, but this is a big Atlanta front court with Capella, with John Collins. I don't think they can go small. So as long as he stays out of foul trouble, I think we get about 30 minutes, maybe 30 plus from Jakob Poeltl. I do have some interest in him in the mid-range. Derek White is back, which kind of just takes everyone else out of play for me for the Spurs. And I don't really know if I want to pay 5.2 for Derek White. So that's probably it for me on the Spurs side. Moving on to Atlanta, Trae Young is firmly in play for GPPs. Again, like Steph Curry, always in play for tournaments. So, I'm perfectly fine if you want to go there. Capella is now priced down to 8.1K. Was in some foul trouble that last game. I think he's at a playable price now. Like the minutes haven't been huge, but he should play about 30. Again, decent matchup. He's still like maybe a little bit overpriced, but he's not like outrageously overpriced like he's been this last week or so. And then Kevin Huerter at 6K did play 35 minutes. I never have a good feeling about him, but I think he's definitely playable here. Gallinari at 4.8. He's kind of reliant on the scoring, which makes him a little risky. That's probably it for me on the Atlanta side. Moving on to New Orleans and Dallas. So, honestly, on the New Orleans side, there's not a ton that stands out to me. Like Ingram, Zion, these guys are both secondary plays. If you land on them, that's fine. Lonzo Ball's a guy that's been playing really well lately. He's been playing, pretty decent minutes, somewhere around the 30 to 35 minute mark. He's been stuffed in the stat sheet. The price is coming up, so you're kind of paying a premium, but I don't think it's the worst play. Again, Bledsoe 5.6, Steven Adams at 5.4. The minutes been a little up and down. There's, they've been running a little bit of small ball too. We've seen with Zion, so it's like I don't really like that. Hernan Gomez lost minutes. He only played 14 the last game. He's still fine in tournaments if you want to take a shot there. But that's probably it. Akira Lewis was in the rotation. He played 24 minutes. If you think, I think you can realistically take a shot at him. 24 minutes last couple games, but you're not going to feel good about it. It's not going to be a one where you're like, oh, I really, really feel good about Akira Lewis. Moving on to Dallas, Luka Doncic at 10.9, I think is one of the better spenders for the slate. Again, he's got a high ceiling with high floor. I think the matchup is solid, and New Orleans has been playing a little bit slower, but I still think Luka is in play every slate. Porzingis a little pricey for me, but you can still go there in tournaments. The rest of the Dallas Mavs, there's no real standouts. I mentioned liking Brunson for value that last slate. He went for 34 fantasy points, but we kind of got, Porzingis foul trouble. He played a little bit more, I think, because of that. I think he's just a fair play. DFS, Kleba, like if you want to take shots on these guys, again, Kleba, the minutes are going down, so I don't love that. Really, like, there's no standout secondary play for me either. I think, there's a couple guys that are viable here. Like, you can look to Jay Rich, you can look to Brunson, you look to Dorian Finney-Smith. Moving on to Detroit and Boston. So, the big news here is Mason Plumlee. He was inactive tonight. That was a big surprise. Got to Isaiah Stewart at super low ownership, but there's no Mason Plumlee again. I'm fine going right back to Isaiah Stewart, who played 31 minutes. Would like him a lot. Would be probably the top value play of the slate. And if Plumlee is out, Blake Griffin is actually in play. I know it's gross. I know it's a back-to-back, but he at least would be viable here because he would have to play more minutes. Josh Jackson off the bench had a nice game. You can always go there in tournaments. DeLon Wright and Jeremy Grant both struggled from the field. Yeah, 3 of 10 from DeLon Wright. I think Jeremy Grant was even worse, 4 of 17. But if there's no Plumlee, and those guys are going to have to do more. I know the matchup's not great, but I think you could go to either of them at their respective prices. And then, Dennis Smith Jr., how many minutes did he play? Only 16. So, I didn't think he would play a ton of minutes, so probably can't do that. So, really, for me, it's Isaiah Stewart. Sadiq Bey is at 3.4. The minutes did not go up on him. I thought he might play a little bit more, but really, it was just a few more for Blake Griffin, and obviously Isaiah Stewart got the huge boost. So, Stewart is definitely the guy for me on the Detroit side. Moving on to Boston. Tatum, Brown, Kemba. There is some blowout risk here. This Detroit team is not great. Are any of these guys must-plays? No, but I'm perfectly fine if you landed on them. Detroit is not a great defensive team. The guy that does stand out here is Daniel Tice. Mentioned him for value tonight. He had a nice 30 fantasy point game. I expect, about 30 minutes from him. He's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. So I think he's a fair value play. Tristan Thompson at 4.4 won't play as many minutes. Probably would prefer getting to Tice if I had to pick. And then the value Boston Celtics, like I said, good luck. People, went back to Grant Williams. I warned you guys. I warned you. I do not trust the secondary Boston Celtic pieces. And sure enough, Grant Williams was actually decent popular in my tournament. It was, Semi Ojeleye. And the answer is no. I am not chasing the Semi Ojeleye game. He is a super, super low usage guy. He shot the ball lights out. I will be fading him if he's starting again. I don't care. I think that is one I'm perfectly fine going elsewhere. So that's probably it for me. Like Peyton Pritchard, how many minutes did he play? He did play 29. I think Peyton Pritchard would probably be, the minutes been a little up and down in him, but if I had to take a shot on one of the Boston Celtics, really cheap guys, it would be Peyton Pritchard. All right, Clippers and Bulls. So first on the Clippers side, Kawhi Leonard, no Paul George, again, is one of the better plays of the slate for sure. Love the matchup for him. You saw what he did the last game, 60 fantasy points, so I do like Kawhi a good amount. Lou Williams is in play for tournaments. Even with Pat Beverly back, he played 29 minutes last game, so he's starting to get it going. If he's playing well, they will extend him. It's you're kind of paying a premium for him, but he's still got 40-plus fantasy point upside. So I think you can take the shot on him in tournaments. Ibaka versus Zubac, again, they're kind of splitting the center minutes, so neither stands out as like an amazing play for me. And then with Pat Beverly back, it kind of just takes everyone else out of play for me. On the Chicago side, I think Zach LaVine's a good tournament play. I mean, he just had a massive game the last game. 46 real-life points, 64 fancy points. Zach LaVine has been absolutely on fire. He's been stuffing the stat sheet. Sure, the matchup's not the best, but I think he's firmly in play for GPPs. The rest of the Bulls, I really don't trust this rotation right now. And Wendell Carter Jr., doubtfully, I didn't expect him to play, but it's just like, I don't. They're using a lot of guys now with Thad and Kobe and Denzel and Pat Williams and Satoransky and Temple and Gafford. So it's just like, I don't know. Kobe White, the minutes have been up and down on him. You can go here for GPPs. He did have a good game last game, but that's not something I feel really, really good about. Thad Young, the minutes haven't been as high in him. He's playing like mid to high 20s minutes, so that seems priced about right. Denzel, the minutes went down on him to only 22. If I knew he was going to play over 30, I'd have more interest in him. Patrick Williams, the minutes have been there, but in a lower usage guy. So it's just like all of these guys are kind of just filler. Like Garrett Temple played 36 minutes, but like I said, the secondary pieces of the minutes are kind of fluctuating for those guys. So like a Washington, I don't really trust the value Bulls at the moment. So Thunder and Denver and the Denver Nuggets, this is definitely an intriguing game here. So no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mentioned Diallo being my favorite play with SGA out because he would run the point a lot, and Diallo had a massive game, 43 fancy points. He actually did go back to the locker room that game, but came back and it looks to be good to go. The risk obviously is the blowout. Definitely some blowout risk here going up against Denver, but if they can keep it close and Roby's out, they're going to have another 8-man rotation. So would be fine taking some shots here in these Thunder guys for tournament. So again, Diallo would like a good amount. Horford at almost 7K is a little risky. But if you think the game stays close, like these are two of the Thunder guys I would want to look to. It would be Diallo and Horford would probably be the first guys in if you're playing the game of you think the Thunder keep it close. Darius Bazley has been a little up and down, but we've seen some big games from him. Would rather get to Horford for a little bit more, but I think he's viable. Kenrich Williams, if there's no Isaiah Roby, started and played big minutes. The price went up a little bit, but I still think he would be a decent play in the mid-range. Lou Dort, not super interested in him. We're out there for the defense. And then Mike Muscala, I actually think is a decent value play. He played 28 minutes that last game. If there's no Isaiah Roby, I expect at least 20 minutes from him. And the price is fair enough where it's like, okay, I can take a shot on Mike Muscala. Again, Roby got to keep an eye on that. He was the surprise scratch that last game. If he's out, then I think you can make the argument for Justin Jackson, who played 27 minutes, a super, super low usage guy, but he'll be in play just because of minutes alone. So that's it for the Thunder. Again, really depends on Roby. If Roby's in, it kind of affects everyone. If Roby's out, I think we can look to Muscala for value. I think you can make the argument for Justin Jackson. And then you have, if you think the game stays close, Diallo, Horford would probably be the two guys to look to. And I think Kenrich is a solid play in the mid-range. On the Denver side, again, it really just depends how you're attacking this game. Are you full fading, hoping for the blowout, or maybe you think it stays close? If you're going to load up on the Thunder, I think it might make sense to run it back with a guy like Jokic, because he should be able to feast here if they can keep it competitive. He had 42 fancy points in 3 quarters there against Cleveland, so Jokic is a good tournament play. The rest of the Denver Nuggets are all kind of secondary plays for me. It's just Murray, Porter, Barton. If you want to take a shot on one of those guys in tournaments, you can. MPJ, the Mets been a little up and down. We know Jamal Murray does have upside, but also has a pretty low floor. So it's like all the secondary plays for me on Denver. Moving on to Milwaukee and Utah. No Jrue Holiday. So I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is a really solid spend up, even in the matchup against Utah. I think he's a guy that does have a high floor as well as a high ceiling because he'll have the ball in his hands more. Same thing with Chris Middleton, even though Chris Middleton had kind of a subpar game. I like both the Milwaukee guys with no Jrue Holiday because everyone else in this roster are super, super low usage. So it's basically give the ball to Giannis, give the ball to Middleton, and get out of the way. DiVincenzo at 5'4", just not a priority for me. Portis versus Lopez. The minutes kind of fluctuate on Bobby Portis. Brook Lopez at 4'8", should play about 30 minutes, but pretty reliant on scoring. And then you have like the really cheap guys like Forbes, Augustine, Craig, and Connaughton. I don't really want to do this. I mean, I had to pivot, and I had Forbes and Connaughton in my lineup that last night. Forbes had, I think, 19 fantasy points in the first half. He literally lost a fantasy point in the second half because all he does is shoot. He will do nothing else. So if he doesn't hit his threes, he realistically could get you 0 fantasy points. And then, yeah, I had a nice, great game here from Pat Connaughton. 4 fantasy points in 21 minutes. Nice job, Pat. No, really, I just like, those guys will get minutes, but you're not going to feel good about any of them. And then on the Utah side, I think Donovan Mitchell's a really good play here at 8.2K. It's just like the Devin Booker situation. When Chris Paul is out, I go to Devin Booker. When Mike Conley is out, Donovan Mitchell will run the point like Devin Booker does when there's no Chris Paul. So the floor plus the ceiling is just way higher on Donovan Mitchell. He's got double-double upside for sure. I think he's a really, really good play at this price point. This game should stay competitive too, so I really like Donovan Mitchell. Rudy Gobert got extended a little bit because Favors went back to the locker room. I expect only about 30 minutes from him, which makes him just a subpar play. Bojan, too reliant on the scoring. The two guys that I am interested in, Jordan Clarkson on the bench at 5'7". Sorry about that. Yeah, so Jordan Clarkson I think is a good tournament play. He should play about 30 minutes. He will get the shot attempts up. It's just a matter of will he hit his shots, right? Kind of more reliant on the scoring, so he's a little riskier. And then that's probably it for me on Utah. Moving on to Memphis and the Lakers. So I think Ja Morant, Jonas Valanciunas are actually two really solid plays in the slate. So they were both on pace for about 35 minutes. The last game, it blew out. At 7-1, that is too cheap for Ja Morant. I don't care about the matchup. I like Ja a good amount here. I like Jonas Valanciunas as well. And both were on pace. Jonas was on pace for over 30 minutes. Ja was close to the 35-minute mark of that game. Stay close. I think both are pretty solid plays. Don't even mind slow-mo at 6K. Would rather get to Ja and JV for a little bit more, but he's been solid, 30-plus fantasy points the last 3 games. Dylan Brooks, Now, there is no Clark, Melton, and Baines, so they're a little bit thin. I think, a couple guys that are intriguing for value, like Tyus Jones and Grayson Allen, these guys should get maybe mid-20s minutes. I think they're actually both pretty decent value plays because I just think the minutes will have to be there for them. So, there actually is a decent amount to like for the Grizzlies here. Ja and JV at the top. I think slow-mo is an interesting play in the mid-range. And then you have Tyus and Grayson Allen there for value. Xavier Tillman at 4-2. The minutes have been trending down on him. I mean, you could still go there, but it's not a good sign with those minutes recently. And moving on to the Lakers, so it really just depends on AD news. LeBron is currently probable. I think LeBron, if there's no Anthony Davis, I think he's a good play at the top. We've got an overtime action in back-to-back games, so don't expect 43 and 41 minutes. We should probably get about mid-30s minutes from him. Would be a solid play there if no AD. And if there's no AD, we can look to Schroeder, Harold, Kuzma, all decent plays in the mid-range. I don't know if one would be really a priority, but they all would be in play. Value-wise, I think the value I'd look to if there's no Anthony Davis would be Markieff Morris, just because he's played 26 and 25 minutes the last couple games. I would expect probably, if he starts mid-20s minutes, he comes off the bench probably 15 to 20. So at almost mid-price, you can go there. Minutes went down for THT, KCP very reliant on the scoring. Nothing really else I'm looking to there on the Lakers side. Moving on to Cleveland and Portland, I think Drummond is one of the best tournament plays of the slate. You guys know I like buying low on guys. Just had a terrible game last game. I mean, all the starters got limited, but Drummond especially, I'm fine going right back to him. We've seen previous games 30 and 36 minutes. Love the spot here, so I really like Drummond in tournaments. Sexton, Garland, even playable because of the matchup. These are normally guys I don't like getting into, but I do like targeting players against this Portland team. So Sexton and Garland I think are in play for guards. Torian Prince is a fine value play at 4.7. We probably get mid-20s minutes, but really my main interest there is Andre Drummond for sure. On the Portland side, Dame Lillard firmly in play at 9.8K. I think he's a good spend up. I mean, you see what he's doing tonight against Phillies. They have a really good game. Offense runs through him. So I do think Dame is a good play at the top. Cantor at 6'9" should play all the minutes he can handle. I think we probably get mid-30s minutes from him as long as he stays out of foul trouble. I don't mind running Cantor with Drummond in kind of like a GPP lineup construction together. So, yeah, I think Cantor is definitely a guy we can look to at that price point because he's a good point per minute guy. The rest of the wings, Rocco, Gary Trent, Melo, all seem priced about right. If I had to pick one, I think it would be Rocco. Value-wise, I think, not Rodney, Derek Jones Jr. at 4K was in some foul trouble, but I expect, mid to high 20s minutes from him. So I think we could take a shot on him for value. Final game here, Orlando and Sacramento. So it really just depends, right? If you guys watched my YouTube live stream, I was like, if all those guys are out, you want to load up on Orlando. And that's what I did. I literally played 5 Magic guys tonight. If all those guys are out, once again, it's a smash spot. I am going right back to the well with the Magic. So would love Vooch. I think Terrence Ross would be firmly in play just because they would have 8 bodies. He would have to run the point guard a decent amount, would boost his floor. James Ennis is a guy I've been really high in last couple slates. I would like Dwayne Bacon, Chuma Okeke, Kem Birch even got minutes. So literally basically everyone besides Gary Clark and Mo Bamba, I would like a lot here if all those guys are out again, just because, again, they would have 8 healthy bodies. So Vooch, love him. Ross, Ennis, Bacon, Okeke, Kem Birch, all of them are in play. I think you would play, if all those guys are out, I would probably get at least a couple of these Magic guys into your lineup. So this is where we're getting value if, again, big if all those Magic guys are out again. if they're all in, or like some guys are in, it's just too hard to break down right now with so many guys questionable. So, if they're all out, I think you're going to want to load up on Orlando. Finally, Sacramento. I think De'Aaron Fox, if you're loading up in Sacramento, you want to bring back, Fox is the perfect bring back. Like I said, this Orlando team is not great defensively. Fox should play close to 40 minutes. He's got stuffs a stat sheet. He's gone for 48, 54, and 60 fantasy points the last 3 games. I like De'Aaron Fox a good amount as a bring back. The other options here for Sacramento, Hield and Barnes, secondary plays to me. Halliburton at 6'3", the minutes just been fluctuating on him. Some games will play mid-30s minutes, some games only 27. He's a little riskier, but I think we can still go there. Marvin Bagley, the minutes been trending down. Rashawn Holmes is at 5'6", was in some foul trouble the last game. I mentioned that was a possibility there against Embiid. I think, was it Whiteside that played a little bit more, or did they go to Bagley? Maybe they just went to Bagley. Yeah, I think Bagley just ran more the 5 that game. But yeah, Holmes, if he stays out of foul trouble, we probably will get about 30 minutes, and he's flashed some upside. So, like, I think Holmes is actually an intriguing value play at that price point. And then that's probably it for me for the Kings, and I think that's going to do it for the video as well. Real quick, though, we'll give you guys an update. Let's see where we're at. Currently in second place right now in this tournament, winning $750 with a 0 from Frank Mason. With literally a 0. So 6 minutes left in this Orlando Golden State game. I mean, let's see. First set 293. I might be able to catch him. We'll see. If Frank Mason didn't get injured, I might have had like the best possible lineup. We'll see. I'm curious to see how it ends, but like I want to do the math and see how close I am in the big tournament as well. So looks like it's gonna be a really, really good night for me, even with literally an injury. And he's only 40% owned. Yeah, hope we get some overtime maybe in Golden State and Orlando. But yeah, that's it for the video today, guys. So if you haven't enjoyed the content so far, I would really appreciate if you hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't go live. Again, I will be doing a YouTube live stream before lock tomorrow. So make sure to check that out, guys. Thanks again. Have a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow.